What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. This one is just a quick one to try and help you guys get your cheat meal in without you getting fat. You know, a lot of people look at me and they think, well, this guy, Mike, he definitely doesn't cheat. He definitely just eats like chicken and broccoli every day and has absolutely zero flexibility when it comes to his nutrition consumption. Well, that's not true. If anyone knows me well, you know, I do actually eat quite a lot of things that I want to eat, but I know how to manipulate my calorie intake in order to maintain pretty low levels of body fat. So let me share a little bit of wisdom for you, right? Cheat meals, okay? They come in all shapes, forms, sizes, types of food, and so on. There's types of people that may have like literally a burger and keep a cheat meal to like 1,000 calories, whereas other people who end up having a cheat meal, which ends up being like a massive uncontrolled binge fest where they literally eat themselves into a coma. Guilty. I used to do that. Don't really do it that much anymore, but it does still happen from time to time. Now, I want to tell you how you can actually get away with eating these cheat meals and some of the foods which you like to eat without it doing too much damage. Okay, particularly if your goal is to not get fat, right? You're either just maintaining, you want to stay the same, or you're actually cutting. I'd imagine a lot of people watching this are in a calorie deficit and they want to lose body fat, but at the same time, they want to try and do both. And it is actually possible. If we look at the week as a whole, Monday to Saturday, they're in a deficit. Sunday's the day when they want to have a cheat meal, okay? So in anticipation for this cheat meal, what they would do is put themselves in a calorie deficit of 300 each day. So minus 300, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So they're actually, on the week as a whole, in a deficit of 1,800. And then they decide to have the cheat meal on the Sunday, which puts them, for example, in a calorie surplus of an extra 1,000. So although this may seem quite alarming, if you take the week as the whole, it's actually not that bad. We're plus 1,000 on the day of the cheat, but then we're minus 1,800 from each day that we're in a deficit. So that equals minus 800 for the week. So technically, this person is still in a deficit for the week, which is quite good. One of the reasons why this doesn't often work that well is because most people just have a hard time being in a deficit on a day-to-day basis. Maybe that's their goal for 6 days of the week, to be in a deficit, and then they have that one day where they can, you know, relax and eat a little bit more than usual. But more often than not, for whatever reason, which I won't go into, they will tend to overeat and be in a surplus multiple times per week. And then something like this happens. You know, maybe a couple of days of the week they're in a deficit, but then they end up overeating on another day of the week. Let's say, for example, on a Thursday, they had another cheat meal or just overate by an extra 1,000 calories. If you're doing this multiple times per week, in this example, it changes a couple of things, okay? So now we're actually at plus 2,000 on the days when you're in a surplus, and now we're at minus 1,500, which equals, not looking good, plus 500 for the week. So somebody who overeats twice per week, on the whole, is going to be in a surplus for the week. So I've shown you how to structure your week if you want to keep continuing to have your cheat meals, but still either maintain your body fat percentage or maybe even reduce it. Now, let's look in a little bit more detail about how you would structure the day of the cheat meal itself. Let's say, for example, I don't want to eat over 3,000 calories. I could, but I don't want to, right? And I know that realistically, this cheat meal that I particularly want is going to be 2,000 calories. I'm trying not to go overboard. So how should I structure my day knowing that this cheat meal is going to be 2,000 calories and I have 1,000 calories left to spare? Do I want to have a cheat meal of 3,000 calories? Well, no, that's not a good idea, because then you're having literally one meal per day, and you're probably not going to get all of your protein in that cheat meal, because cheat meals are not really full of protein. So this is what I do. I will usually have 2 other meals, right? Usually in the morning and then in the afternoon. I will probably train in between here, okay? So this meal is literally just protein, leafy greens or maybe vegetables. And then after the workout, similar thing. It could be a protein shake, or it could be, again, just proteins, leafy greens, vegetables. So in this meal, there's not going to be any carbs, there's not going to be any fats. I'll be saving that for this, right? So this meal will have, it's not going to have all my protein in, but it will have some protein in for sure. And it will have, no doubt, quite a lot of carbs. And it will most definitely have the majority of the fats
that I will need for my entire day, right? So this is how it's going to look for me.
A couple of other things worth mentioning, and this is just purely from experience. It does tend to help if you have cheat meals at places where they display the macros on their menu. If you were trying to not go overboard and you were going to allocate yourself a certain number of calories for this cheat meal, then you either go out to the places where you know the calories on the menu, or you just stay at home and you make it yourself.
Now, if someone's absolute priority is to lose body fat gradually on a weekly basis, do you know what the best course of action for that individual would be? Let me show you. Let me take these 2 cheat meals that they've been having almost every week, overeating. We get rid of them. Now look, we're in a much better situation here. Those 2 days where they were overeating, now they're just at maintenance levels. And on the other 5 days, they're in a deficit. So if we take the week overall, we add everything up, they're at a deficit of minus 1,500.
Another thing that I'd like to mention as well is the difference between savory cheat meals and sweet cheat meals, or when you have a combination of both. Now, I've noticed if I'm going to cheat and I keep it to the savory cheat meals, for example, my favorites would be like a pizza or burgers, or maybe even fries. Usually when I have the burger or the pizza and I just keep it at that and I call it a day, it's fine. I'm satisfied, I'm full, and usually I don't go overboard. Whereas if I combine it with having the savory stuff and then on top of that I have the sweet stuff, that's when the calories really start to load up. The reason behind that, for me and probably most people, I know some people don't like sweet stuff, but I do have an incredibly aggressive sweet tooth that needs to be tamed because it's absolutely out of control the moment a bit of sugar goes onto my tongue. So even though I might be full because I've just eaten a full pizza or a burger or 2 burgers, give me something sweet and I will not stop eating that sweet stuff until I'm like beyond full or I start to feel sick. Okay, I know myself. I have like no self-control when I eat something sweet. And the worst thing is if there is a large portion of that sweet thing in front of me. If I order something and it says a small portion size, then that's not too much to worry about because I'll eat it. There's a fixed number of calories and that's that. It's gone. Whereas if I'm sitting at home and I've got a huge bar of chocolate or bars of chocolate, it's going to be very hard for me to not go overboard, especially when it's in front of me. So usually the best thing is just to avoid the sweet stuff because the sugar is like Coke. You just keep wanting more and more, even though your body is already full. Another thing which I've noticed as well is the bigger and the filthier the cheat meal is, the higher the likelihood it's going to knock me off track and undo a load of good habits which have been in place prior to that cheat meal taking place. So the following day, I'll feel terrible. Usually the sleep would not have been very good. HRV is lower. Got a food hangover. I'm pretty lethargic, brain fog. In the gym, performance is not that good. Like, I'm just craving more bad food. My gut microbiome has actually changed. It's like my belly is telling me, hey, we need to eat more again, eat more shit. So that's something which I don't like. And now I realize with making so many mistakes so many times before, when it comes to eating cheat meals, I know how to have enough, but not take it too far. And an even better solution instead of having a cheat meal would be to have a refeed meal. Now, this in itself probably requires a separate video because there's a lot to talk about refeed meals and how to actually structure it to complement your goals.
So why would I prefer to have a refeed meal over a cheat meal? Well, usually the refeed meal can be quite high in nutrient density because you're just eating more of the good foods you usually eat. Usually the cheat meal is pretty low in the quality of foods. You'll also tend to overconsume when you're having pure junk food, whereas when you're having a refeed meal, you eat enough and you're pretty satisfied. With the cheat meal, you usually get quite inflamed because of all the poor quality food and the sugars and so on. And more often than not, you end up craving more junk food after you've consumed junk. Whereas when you have a refeed meal, it kind of kills the cravings and you don't necessarily want anything more if you do it properly. It also tends to change your gut microbiome, whereas a refeed meal can maintain that healthy gut. And then without a doubt, you feel lethargic, you have brain fog, and you just don't really want to do anything. Whereas if you have a proper refeed meal, you have loads of energy.
there's a couple of questions which I think you really need to ask yourself before you even think about having a cheat meal. And that's, first of all, do you deserve it? So if, for example, you've had a pretty shitty week and you've not done what you're supposed to do, your eating habits haven't been good, you've maybe had a few meals which were bigger than they should have been, maybe you missed the gym, maybe you didn't do your cardio, well, you probably should not have a cheat meal because you've not earned it. Then for those people, let's say, for example, maybe they did everything they were supposed to do. Like the diet was on point. They went to the gym every time they were supposed to go to the gym, but progress had been pretty slow. Like, visually, there's not been much fat loss. Don't have a cheat meal, right? Just suck it up and continue eating the meals that you're supposed to be eating. Once you reach your goal in the future, yes, then you can have your cheat meal. But for now, it doesn't make any sense because it's just going to make the progress even slower. And then more importantly, those people, myself included, who sometimes can't keep things under control, just should not cheat, particularly if it really has taken a lot of work for you to replace a lot of bad habits with good ones. If having a cheat meal means that they're all going to be undone, or you just cannot keep your fucking mouth closed and keep piling the food in, then just don't cheat. You have to be realistic with yourself, because these cheat meals, when overdone, can really, really set you back. And you can put on a lot of fat in a very short period of time. So hopefully this video has helped a little bit. I've told you how to structure it and how I like to structure my week and my days when it comes to me cheating. But the majority of the time, as I've said, when I look my best, I feel my best, I just don't cheat. I just eat the foods I like to eat, the healthy foods, and I have refeed meals instead. But as I mentioned, we'll be doing another video on that. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.